Welcome to PyData Global 2022. And in this talk today, we're going to see how to transcribe audio of motivational sports talks using a speech-to-text provider in Python and derive insights from those uh, from the transcript to determine which talk is like the most motivating and uplifting. And hopefully there's some sports fans here or some AI fans here as well. So let's get started. So you may be wondering like what inspired this talk. Yes, I was an athlete. Yes, I do Python. But there was this movie called Rudy that changed my life. And back in the day, back in the 90s, I've watched it, and it's about a young boy who has dreams of playing American football at Notre Dame, one of the best, the history football programs in the whole country. But he was very unathletic, and he was like 5 feet tall, not very tall, not very athletic. People think he's like, such a wild idea of him playing at this team, but he ends up making the team as a walk-on, so like a non-scholarship player. There's lots of motivational speeches in this movie, and so there's a bigger reason for this talk, though, that's personal to me. So every year, when I was in high school, I played girls basketball, and every year we would go to the state tournament, which is where all the best basketball teams play for the championship. And I'm sorry for the quality of this photo. It was from the 1990s. So we had this nemesis. They were called Milwaukee, Washington, and their team was so good. Like they were stacked. Like all of their starting five was just like professional type players. And every year they beat us at the state tournament. And so we figured, oh God, there's like no possibility of ever beating this team. So we just started believing that we just can't win, like we can't beat this team. And so my senior year of high school, my coach, we call him Coach K, there he is, it was him and I, there, sat down, he came to our house, sat down with my parents and I and said, we're doing something different this year. And so the first day of practice, girls basketball practice, we're all like shooting around, thinking we're just going to have a normal practice. He walks in, he goes, everybody to the film room. So he takes us to this classroom and he has us watch the movie Rudy. And there's this scene in the movie where Rudy, who's this underdog, right? He sacks the quarterback. He finally gets into the game and he makes a tackle against the quarterback. And everybody's like cheering, Rudy, Rudy. And his teammates carry him off the field. And it's just this very dramatic moment. And every day before practice, we would watch that scene of the movie, and something started to happen to us in our subconscious mind. And what do you think happened? Well, you'll find out at the end of our time together today. So my name is Tonya Sims. I'm a Python developer advocate at Deepgram. Deepgram, we're an AI speech-to-text company. We transcribe streaming real-time and pre-recorded audio. But we're more than a transcription company. I mean, we have, tons of features that you can use with your transcriptions. I'm also a former professional athlete. I played professional basketball, moved from being an athlete to doing pharmaceutical sales and then into tech as a developer. Now I'm a Pythonista. And we can connect on Twitter. Hopefully Twitter's going to be around for some time, but I'm just at Tonya Sims on Twitter. Feel free to tweet me during this talk or send me a direct message as well. So the talks that we're going to be, the sports motivational videos that we're going to be transcribing today so we have a talk from an American football player named Darryl Green, who was a Hall of Famer, and we're going to transcribe his Hall of Fame speech. It's considered to be one of the best Hall of Fame speeches ever. And I wanted to dig in a little bit deeper to that to see why that is, why people think that. Kobe Bryant talk, we're going to transcribe, obviously, I think a lot of people knew who Kobe Bryant was, a great motivational speaker. Serena Williams, the GOAT of tennis, right? The greatest of all time, just an amazing will to win. And also a motivational talk by a very popular college basketball coach with a big personality named Jimmy Valvano. And so we're going to be doing a pre-recorded transcription using Deepgram, where you upload a file or a hosted file online and transcribe from speech to text. We're going to tap into some of the features like summarization, which gives a preview and summarizes content. Topic detection, extracting key topics from text with the benefit of quickly identifying patterns. Sentiment analysis, identifying the tone of if the tone of a transcript is, positive, negative, or neutral. And we're also going to be tapping into another feature called the profanity filter, if we have time, which removes profanity from a transcript. So those are just a few of our features that we have. So we're using our Python SDK, and which is on GitHub. You can find it to transcribe a pre-recorded file. So let's get started. So I wanted to show you like the code for the pre-recorded transcription so you can see how easy it is. So the first thing you would do is just initialize the DeepGram SDK with your API key. Open up an audio file. Then create a dictionary with audio as buffer and MIME type as appropriate. In this case, we're transcribing MP3 files. And the magic kind of happens here. DeepGram does the pre-recorded transcription, passing in the source and optional features like punctuation. And then we're just printing the JSON response. Okay, so you see how simple it is. Okay, so let's get into the transcription of our sports audio. So Darryl Green, former American NFL player, football player. I had never heard of Darryl Green, honestly, until about 10 years ago. He's retired, many, many years ago before that, but he is considered to be one of the best defensive players ever. And he was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2008. And as I was saying earlier, his Hall of Fame speech is considered to be one of the best ever. And I wanted to understand why that is. So DeepGram has a summarization feature, which just gives you a preview of the transcript. Think, call center use case, customers who need to navigate through a large number of calls and analyze important conversations through like generated summaries. And so here's Darryl Green's summary from the transcript. Deacon Jones said I would cry. You bet your life I'm going to cry. That's my boy right there. So what I took away from this is there's another Hall of Famer named Deacon Jones who played for the same team. He's older than Darryl. Maybe he spoke with Deacon before his Hall of Fame speech, and he knew he was going to be very emotional. So the way to use summarization with DeepGram is very, very simple. You just pass in, summarize a true parameter into the Python dictionary here. Topic detection for Darryl Green's speech. Once again, topic detection just extracts key topics from the text with the benefit of quickly identifying patterns in the transcripts. And here are some of the topics for Darryl Green. Some of the ones that stick out to me are parenting, family. And then, of course, he kind of, he gets into like some religious things like Christianity, God, Bible, that type of things, leadership as well. So what I derive from this transcript, the speech, is that, this is a man who's very religious. And so maybe that's why people thought this was the best Hall of Fame speech ever. So for the more visual people, here's kind of a word cloud that I created in Python, and you can kind of see the topics that stick out. Topic detection, once again, very simple to use in DeepGram and implement. You just pass and detect topics and set it to true in the Python dictionary. Kobe Bryant, let's jump into his speech. Kobe Bryant is in my top 5 of NBA players. How can he not be, right? He was just so similar to Michael Jordan and one of the best players to ever play the game, and just a really great motivational speaker. So let's look into the summary for Kobe Bryant for his talk. I'm not going to read the whole thing. You can kind of see the summary here, but what I took from this summary is Kobe was driven to be the best. He was always practicing and getting better, and he was motivated to never quit. As you can see here in the summary, he had a purpose. He wanted to be one of the best basketball players to ever play the game of basketball. Kobe Bryant, topic detection with DeepGram. Some of the things that stick out to me here are, sports, games, sports, once again, sports, fitness, exercise, athletics. Sports again comes up, parenting, and he loved his children, games. So you can see he was very focused on winning in sports, and parenting and his children. So that's what I derive from the topic detection for Kobe Bryant. So for those more visual, here's a word cloud. You can kind of see what sticks out here, sports, games, parenting, those types of topics. So let's move into Serena Williams' speech. I'll never forget the first time hearing about Serena and Venus Williams, amazing tennis players. I was visiting my grandparents in Kentucky, and my grandmother showed me a Sports Illustrated magazine with Serena and Venus on the cover. And it was like the most amazing thing that I've ever seen, and inspired me in my own sports career. So the summary for Serena Williams from her speech called I Believe. She says, I always wanted to be the best. When I go out there, I really have to shut down my mind. I have to say to myself, you know what? I'm just playing a great player. And I'm not going to read the whole thing, but as you can see, Serena Williams hates to lose, and she has such a will to win. And that's why she's the greatest of all time. Topic detection for Serena Williams. So these are some of the topics that stuck out to me. These are some of the topics that were derived from our topic detection: games, sports, gods, and my takeaway from this is, she comes from a very religious family, and then there's also war there. She did not say war in her speech, but maybe she talked about like the fierce competition, because many people compare war or battle to sports. But this is from her speech, I believe, where she talks about that anybody, you can achieve anything you want in life if you believe in yourself. For the more visual people, here is the word cloud. I think it's pretty evenly distributed, but we'll get into the sentiment analysis in a bit, and you'll see kind of how things shift a little bit. Okay, now let's talk about Jimmy Valvano. So Jimmy Valvano was a very popular college coach at North Carolina State. Big personality. I mean, just a lovable guy. His players absolutely adored him. I'll never forget watching his speech, this speech of Jimmy at the ESPYs, which is a award show for sports people. And the theme of his speech was never give up. It was so emotional, okay, because he was fighting his battle with cancer at the time. And, unfortunately, he did lose his battle with cancer a few months after the speech, and it was just a huge loss for the college basketball community. So let's talk about the summary from that Jimmy Valvano speech. He says, here's a summary. I'm very emotional, passionate man. Being the son of Ron and Angelina Valvano, it comes with the territory. And then he goes on to say something like, I don't know much time I have left, and I have some things that I would like to say. If you laugh and you think and you cry, you're going to do that 7 days a week. So what I took away from this summary is Jimmy Valvano, obviously very passionate, emotional speech, and he's not sure how much time he has left on earth. Topic detection for Jimmy Valvano. Let's look at some of the topics that came from the speech. Unfortunately, cancer is one, love, relationships, sports, death, diseases, sports and speech, and cancer is, so as we can see, cancer was definitely at the top of his mind, rightfully so. This was a man who was battling this disease. And so that's, kind of what his speech was kind of centered around. And once again, the word cloud, as you can see, the topics that really stuck out from that speech. So let's talk about sentiment analysis, which, sentiment analysis identifies the emotional tone behind a body of text and determines whether it's positive, neutral, or negative. Positive being, your attitude toward a particular topic is good. Neutral being attitude towards a particular topic is okay. And negative, your attitude towards a particular topic is bad. So once again, DeepGram, we have a sentiment feature. We're using our Python SDK again. Very simple. You see how it is to implement sentiment analysis in the code. You just pass in sentiment as a Python key, dictionary key, and give it a value of true. And with sentiment analysis, it adds punctuation by default. And, when you run the code and all the features that I've showed you today with even summarization, topic detection, it'll give you a JSON response with the objects that you're looking for. Okay, so let's talk about the sentiment for the speeches that we've reviewed already. Darryl Green, just to recap, NFL Hall of Fame speech, former American football player. His speech was centered around religion and God. So what I did here, I'm not going to show the code for this because of time constraint, but what I did is this: I did some parsing. I received a JSON response back when I passed in that sentiment true parameter, parsed it, did some aggregation, and used pandas for the grouping. And so for Darryl Green, you can see 10 negative instances of sentiment, neutral 47, and then 21 positive from his speech. Then I used matplotlib, which is a Python library, to graph the average percent of the sentiment. So as you can see here, let me just make it a little bigger. As you can see here, neutral 58.2%, negative 13%, and positive around 27% positive for his speech. Kobe Bryant, his speech about wanting to be the best basketball player ever. Speech sentiment. So in his speech, roughly, 61 maybe instances of negative speech, 159 instances of neutral speech, 54 instances of positive speech, and 1 instance of very positive speech in the transcript. And so here's the graph that I created from matplotlib. You can see here 56% neutral for his speech, 22% negative, 20% of his speech was positive, and about 0.4% of Kobe Bryant's speech was very positive. The sentiment for Serena Williams, it just says, recap her "I believe in you, believe in yourself" speech that she gave. The aggregation, 11 instances of negative speech, 18 instances of neutral speech, and 23 instances of positive speech for the sentiment. And her graph, as you can see, hers is the most positive so far, with 44% positive, 31% neutral, and 24% negative. And last but not least, we have Jimmy Valvano. Recall his, very passionate and emotional speech about never giving up as he was succumbing to cancer at the ESPYs, where he gave that speech. 31 instances of negative speech for the sentiment for his transcript, 100 instances of neutral speech, 52 instances of positive speech, and 1 instance of a very positive speech. And what does his graph look like? 54% of his speech was neutral, about 28% of his speech was positive, 0.5% of his speech was very positive, and 17% of his speech was negative. So as you can tell, based on sentiment, if we're going to say based on sentiment, which speech was the most positive, it was Serena Williams. If you recall, her speech was about 44.4% positive. So she had the most positive sentiment. So she's the winner. So let's take a look really quickly, because we only have a few minutes left, at another feature, which I think kind of applies to the situation. Is we have a profanity filter feature, which filters out profanity by converting it to the nearest recognized non-profane word, or removes it completely from the transcript. So what I did is I took a transcript of, so I transcribed a speech by a football coach, a college American football coach called Buddy Stevens. And he curses a lot. And he was giving the speech at halftime to his players. And this documentary. It's called Last Chance U on Netflix if you want to check it out. It's about a junior college in Mississippi, and he just uses a lot of profanity when he talks. And so before transcribing Coach Stevens' talk, like this is, well, actually, sorry. Let me just retract a little bit. So this is transcribing his speech, but without our profanity filter. And so this is what it looked like. And I kind of blank out the curse words so you can imagine, what that, how that sounded. I'm not going to read it because I don't want to be respectful in case people don't curse or anything, but you can see where all the blanks are. That's where all the profanity words were. So if you want to use the profanity filter and filter out the profanity, once again, very simple. You just pass in a profanity filter parameter and set it to true. And it will give you a JSON response with the transcript without the profanity. And so let's take a look at the transcript, what that looks like without profanity. Look at this. There are no more curse words. It's pretty cool, I think. So yeah, you can see that all the curse words are gone. So I think it's this is a very useful feature if, maybe if you're, if kids have to see this, or you're in a professional setting where you don't want the curse words or the profanity to be shown. So circling back to the beginning of this talk, I was talking about our nemesis in high school. When I was in high school, Milwaukee, Washington, the girls basketball team always beat us at state. We could never win against them. We just thought that, oh wow, like we can never beat this team. And my high school coach had us watch the movie Rudy, which was about this football player who people think he could never make it at the collegiate level, and he ends up, walking onto the team and becoming this hero. And our subconscious mind started to shift because our coach had us watch that scene every day before practice, and we started believing in ourselves. And guess what happened? We finally beat our nemesis for the girls basketball state championship. And not only did we beat them, we crushed them by 20 points. So it was really cool. Just a great moment. So for most of us, motivational speeches, help inspire us in all fields, not just sports. So if you would like to try DeepGram, our speech to text API, or our Python SDK, you can just go to console.deepgram.com, or you can take a screenshot or take a picture of the QR code. It'll take you directly to the console. We give you $150 of free credit for transcription, which is very generous. You can try our real-time streaming and our pre-recorded transcription from the browser. So I want to thank you for your time today, and I want to send a special thank you to PyData Global. If you have any questions in particular about getting started with DeepGram, sports, or our Python SDK, feel free to ask. Thank you so much.